In the opulent heart of Beverly Hills, a young woman named Olivia stepped out of her sleek black Bentley, the engines fading into silence. Today was monumental. She was about to meet the family of her fiancé, Ethan Sinclair, a tech mogul whose wealth was as vast as the ocean. The marble steps of the Sinclair estate gleamed under the California sun, each step echoing her ambition and dreams of becoming the next Mrs. Sinclair. Olivia had meticulously planned her outfit, a designer dress that hugged her curves and exuded confidence. She had spent months cultivating her relationship with Ethan, and today was her chance to solidify her place in his world of affluence and influence. As she approached the grand entrance, her phone buzzed with congratulatory messages about their recent engagement, but she brushed them aside. This was about more than social media. It was about securing her future. Meanwhile, 3 miles away, Ethan sat in a luxurious hotel suite, monitoring the security feeds from his family's estate. He had told Olivia he was tied up with business, but in reality, he was conducting a test suggested by his mother, Margaret Sinclair. She believed that true character revealed itself when one thought they were unobserved. Ethan needed to know if Olivia was genuinely interested in him, or merely enamored with his wealth. As Olivia entered the mansion, she was greeted by the stunning foyer adorned with crystal chandeliers and exquisite art. But something felt off. Where were the staff to welcome her? Instead, the only sound was a faint echo of water dripping somewhere deep within the house. Ethan watched to the cameras, noting the shift in Olivia's demeanor as she began to feel the weight of the silence. Following the sound of scrubbing, Olivia's irritation grew. She turned a corner and found an elderly woman, Clara, kneeling on the polished floor, her hands moving methodically over the already spotless surface. Clara wore a faded uniform, her gray hair pulled back in a neat bun. Olivia's heart raced with indignation. How dare this woman ignore her presence? "Excuse me." Olivia's voice sliced through the air, demanding attention. Clara looked up, her expression calm and unyielding. "Good afternoon, miss," she replied, her voice steady. Olivia expected a flurry of apologies, but instead, Clara returned to her work, seemingly unfazed by the engagement ring sparkling on Olivia's finger. The dismissal ignited a fire within Olivia. She had spent months preparing for this moment, and this woman's indifference felt like a personal affront. "Did I say you could continue working while I'm speaking to you?" Olivia snapped, her frustration boiling over. Clara paused, setting down her mop, and stood to face Olivia. There was strength in her posture, a quiet dignity that made Olivia feel small. "You will address me as ma'am, and you will stop what you're doing when I'm present. Do you understand?" Olivia demanded, her voice laced with entitlement. Clara met her gaze with an unsettling calmness. "I understand, Miss Sinclair," she replied, but the lack of submission only fueled Olivia's angered eye in his hotel suite. Ethan's heart sank as he watched the scene unfold. This was not the woman he had fallen in love with. The tension in the air thickened as Olivia's frustration reached a boiling point. Without thinking, she raised her hand and slapped Clara across the face, the sound echoing to the grand foyer like a gunshot that Ethan's breath caught in his throat as he witnessed the act of violence. Clara's head snapped to the side, but when she turned back, there was no anger or tears, only a heavy silence that filled the room. "I see," she said quietly, her voice carrying an undertone that sent chills down Olivia's spine. Ethan closed his laptop, realizing that everything had changed. Clara touched her cheek gently, as if memorizing the sensation of the slap. She didn't react with outrage. Instead, she stood there, absorbing the moment with a calm that felt ominous. "Mr. Ethan will be home soon," she said, her tone casual, as if nothing had happened. Olivia's heart raced with dread. She had crossed a line she couldn't uncross. The woman she had just struck was not merely a servant. She was a matriarch of the Sinclair family. As the realization dawned on Olivia, she felt the walls of her carefully constructed future begin to close in around her. Ethan returned home with his family, laughter and warmth filling the air. But as he entered the foyer, he sensed the tension. Clara descended the stairs, transformed from a humble cleaner into a figure of authority, her traditional attire radiating power. The contrast was stark, and Olivia felt her stomach drop. "Olivia, I hope you've been treating my mother well," Ethan said, his voice laced with confusion as he took in the scene. Clara's calm demeanor contrasted sharply with the chaos brewing in Olivia's heart. "We had a very enlightening conversation," Clara replied. Her gaze steadied as Ethan's expression shifted as he pieced together the events. "What do you mean?" he asked, his voice rising with concern. Clara recounted the encounter, her words dripping with the weight of truth. "Your fiancé struck me across the face for not acknowledging her properly." The room fell silent as Ethan's face drained of color. "You what?" he exclaimed, disbelief and anger flooding his voice. "You struck my mother?" The accusation hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. Olivia's mind raced, searching for an explanation, but the words wouldn't come. "I didn't know she was your mother," she stammered, desperation creeping into her voice. "I thought she was just a cleaner." But the excuse fell hollow, revealing more about her character than she intended. That Ethan's disappointment was palpable. "You thought she was what?" "Someone beneath you," he asked, his voice trembling with hurt. "You struck my mother because she didn't bow quickly enough for your liking?" Clara stepped forward, her presence commanding respect. "I know what it feels like to be dismissed by those who think uniforms determine worth," she said, her voice steady. "I worked hard to build this family, and I will not allow anyone who lacks basic human decency to join us." The weight of Clara's words settled over the room like a shroud. Ethan's family exchanged glances, understanding the gravity of the situation. "You failed to test Olivia," Ethan said quietly, his voice breaking. "You revealed who you truly are when you thought no one was watching." As the reality of her actions sank in, Olivia felt her world crumble. "Please, I can change," she pleaded, but her desperation fell on deaf ears. "You can't learn to have a soul you were born without," Clara replied, her tone final. Ethan's heart shattered as he realized the truth. "The woman I fell in love with never existed," he said, his voice filled with sorrow. "You were just a performance until you thought no one important was watching." With a heavy heart, Clara turned to Olivia. "It's time for you to leave," she said, her voice calm but resolute. "Your engagement is over. You've shown us who you really are, and you don't belong in this family." As Olivia stumbled toward the door, the weight of her actions pressed down on her like a leaden cloak. The door closed behind her with finality that echoed through the mansion, sealing her fate. She had thrown away everything for a moment of pride, and now she was left with nothing but the bitter taste of regret. As she drove away from the Sinclair estate, the reality of her choices settled in. She had mistaken cruelty for strength, and in doing so, she had lost everything she ever wanted. The mansion faded into the distance, a symbol of the life she could have had if only she had recognized the humanity in others. In the grand halls of the Sinclair estate, Clara stood surrounded by her family, their love and support wrapping around her like a warm embrace. They had weathered the storm together, and now they would continue to build their legacy, one rooted in respect and dignity for all. As Olivia drove through the bustling streets of Beverly Hills, she realized that true wealth lay not in material possessions, but in the character one displayed in every interaction. The lessons learned that day would haunt her forever, a reminder of the cost of pride and the importance of treating everyone with kindness, regardless of their station in life.